Have you wondered what it would be like to start your own homestead? It can feel intimidating to think about all the things that go into creating a successful homestead. This week we talk with BJ Homesteader and why he got into homesteading, how he developed his own land into a thriving homestead, and how he is now teaching others how to be successful in their own homestead. Living off the land is becoming more prevalent with grocery store shortages, depletion of egg supply, and people simply want to live a healthier lifestyle. But getting started can feel intimidating. BJ has done extensive research from other cultures, has learned the science in soil maintenance and care, and loves sharing his knowledge. Join us as we get to hear from an expert at homesteading and find out how you can also get started in the homesteading process. So let's get started with our conversation with BJ Homesteader. All right, I'm so excited today to have you as my guest, BJ. You're very modest with how much knowledge that you have in the homesteading world. And if anyone wants to learn about homesteading, I'm so thankful that you're here to share the information that you have. So welcome. I'm so thankful
Welcome
for
to be
you.
here. Thank you for having me, Lucretia.
Absolutely. So I want to start with the beginning. Like, where did you grow up?
Mercy, I was born actually in Danville, Indiana. Was raised in Detroit, Michigan. A lot of traveling around when I was younger. Went to Indiana State University, then made my way down to Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky. Um, and obviously from there, I'm in southern Nashville now, and kind of a real quick story. Not really a whole lot to tell there.
What did you study at those universities?
Basics when I was, younger. I started very young. Obviously, I'm near 60 now, 59. And when I started at a younger age, it's just what everybody else was, basic curriculum, trying to get whatever I needed, find my way. But eventually got over to Murray State, did some English, started really improving in my grades and started noticing a little bit more about the academics that I was doing well in that I did not see earlier. So that kind of inspired me at Murray State. Good teaching over there. And then moved on to Williamson Christian College, which is in Franklin, Tennessee, and kind of enjoyed, getting into some theology and kind of worked my way through. Did a lot of studies in C.S. Lewis, which I still do today. I really enjoy that. But got into some religion studies, some history. I was a big fan of history. And so, yeah, I just went on and on and on and just kind of found my way. And now we've got some developments going into, you know, conservation, environmentalism, and stuff like that, working with our homestead. A lot of nature, a lot of biology, and I would have to say overall the sciences. That's what's really kind of got me. Later in years, we all have our thing, and when we catch things, but I just started through playing music most of my life, found myself on the other side of the spectrum of things where I did not really pay a lot of attention to nature in my earlier years, traveling around, playing and doing different things, um, working, even in construction. Um, Enjoyed doing a lot of different things. I was very active and moved around, hence different schools and whatnot. Um, but when you're in school, sometimes you don't know really what your major is going to be. You don't know really what you want to do until time. You put more time into it, you really find yourself. That's kind of what my situation is in my story. At later years, I really started seeing things that I really kind of felt the good Lord was bringing to me in a more clearer sense. Started, releasing the veils from the eyes, as they say, and I was picking up things, and I just found a love and an enjoyment. Got into homesteading. Did not realize I was going to get as in depth as I have been. But it grew from there, like everything else in my life. It just one step at a time. It just, I found myself gradually getting into areas that I were better suited for, and really enjoy it. Everything's about nature, biology, the science. It's great. So there's a lot of folks out there that are into that. Some not so much. But homesteading, we're all natural. It has to do everything with about raising as much that we possibly can on a natural sense, from our seeds to our animals to all our plants. Horticulture is huge with us here. then actually getting into our own supplements, our amendments, fertilizers, and everything's all natural. And so we just keep on keeping on. And probably will be doing this the rest of my life.
I love that. So, when you started realizing you had this interest in homesteading, where did you go for information? Like, where did you start with this whole learning process?
That's a really good question, especially for me. Playing music, I traveled a lot. I had habits of not paying attention to my health. Many of us, you're either catering, eating what they provide you, or you're stopping, getting whatever. You're not really eating healthy. Of course, drinking alcohol and different things. Not that I was obsessive, but there was just a constant routine of different foods. Never paid much attention to that. It became a normal routine for me. In the long run, I started getting sick. It wasn't around 2015, I'd say 2014, 2015. I got real heavy, obviously, and things just started to go south. And long story short, just end up with a serious case of pancreatitis. My chemicals just enzymes completely out of whack. I had no clue what was going on well enough, knowing the whole idea of why I was sick until my doctors really started to bring that to my attention. I think that one of the biggest things, other than my physical state, was my intellectual um, absence in the whole thing, is I did not really know. That bothered me. It bothered my family. And when I started seeing the reflection of everything that was going on with me and how it was affecting the family, especially my wife Lisa, she had to step up and start taking care of me. And I'm pretty young at this time, dealing with something that I should have known better. But it was an eye-opening experience with my health. And with the overall physical experience of being down and watching other people take care of you, when I realized that I did not have the answers and I was barely understanding kind of what the doctors were telling us as we were taking tests, trying to, discern exactly how this thing came about, which a lot of people are dealing with today. I got a really close friend right now that's coping with this in California. Um, so I immediately got into the books. Lisa and I, when we came home, we just got into every kind of medical book that we felt that we needed to. This is way before homesteading even became an idea. We just needed to get ourselves into a better pattern of nutrition. Lisa completely took everything out of the house and was working on getting the proper, items in the house that I would be eating on a regular basis. And it took a while. So it was nutrition. It was actually getting into the books. A lot of folks do this when they're experiencing adversity or something in their life. They try to find out. They try to better their knowledge on what's going on. And that was really where I was at. I wanted to know, first of all, what it was, how I could treat it myself, what I needed to do to just turn my basic life habits around and, try to live a normal life. And then after that, one thing after the other kept coming up. And it came up pretty quickly. We immediately started going into gardening to raise foods after we were reading and learning natural ways, natural remedies. Just about everything that you would buy in a store, vegetables, produce, and everything. We were finding out more information, um, even asking people in certain stores and management where that particular food come from. We were really shocked by how many people that worked in the actual corporate industry did not have no idea where that food came from.
Wow.
It was mostly routine. So we were like, that was kind of an eye opener as well. Like, we're buying food from you. Does anybody have really any general idea where this comes from? Or are you just here to, clock in and clock out, get a paycheck? And we were seeing more and more of that. So that kind of triggered us to go to other stores that we had normally been purchasing our foods from, just kind of inquisitive, just asking questions. And the lack of knowledge in those areas, we started seeing something that we didn't see before. That triggered more looking into things for us. So started contacting companies, started asking questions that I never did before, and then that triggered, the education. And so we started to make some changes in our own homestead life here, and that's where it all began, was nutrition, just by being sick.
Wow. Yeah, people don't realize that we don't pay attention to where the food comes from. We just buy it, and well, growing up on a dairy farm, I would run into people and they didn't know that the milk they bought actually came from a cow. And like growing as a dairy farmer, I would be like, how do you not know? But that information's not out there. It's just really surprising. And you have an amazing wife. Kudos for her for stepping up and just she's so wonderful and just realizing, hey, we need to make a change and just supporting you
Yeah,
through that all.
funny thing is Lisa actually had a lot of knowledge that I did not have from her prior history. She grew up in a completely different environment and atmosphere than I did. It's because we are just the opposite. I was the young city boy, and she was the young country girl, and quite a story. We've got quite a testimony there as we've covered a lot of ground before all this even took place. Yeah, we feel that God brings you together for reasons, and I've done a lot of learning off of Lisa, and hence vice versa. I'm one that is I love education. I'm what they call that professional student. I'll always be learning something. I'll never stop reading and looking into things, especially after what I've gone through. I'm just really wanting to know what I need to do to better my performance or to better my knowledge. And so, as we have our operation today, we have so many things going on. It requires that we are constantly experimenting with new things, new plants. We're all about native soils. I'm all big about my soil regeneration. So when these things tie in to the science and the biology, you've really got to be on the ball. You got to start looking and looking and looking. If you want better plants, you want better soil. And I'm a driver. So Lisa and I, we've combined a lot of who we are. We're, like I said, we're just the opposites on many things, but we have come together on the homestead program as husband and wife, like I would have never expected. We love what we do. We love each other tremendously. The command center, as an example, in our house is the biggest operation. She operates that, and every project that I've created over the years that has made this homestead what it is has to run through the command center. She does the food preparation. She's all about the food logistics and everything. The cooking, of course. There's just so much going on within the command center as all these projects from our poultry to the rabbits to the gardens and everything that comes in through here. It's rather incredible. So I've simplified that. As we started the very first 4 years, when we decided we were even looking into the idea of homestead, I said, I'm going to put together a 4 year program. I have a syllabus for just about every single year. And I said, let's see if we are able to do this, if we really want to truly do this. And I gave us an adequate amount of time, 4 years. That included finances, right on down the line to growing, to the sciences. I've got an amazing water diffusion system here that is just second to none. We do not drink anything chemicals. It's all been filtered and produced. These programs that I've been building over the years is something that we needed to see because the intellectual part's important is how long can you obtain something? How long can you maintain it? Really, do you want to? Do you like what you do for long term, or is this something just short term? There's a lot of people get on YouTube and they talk a lot about this, that, and another, but then after so long, you don't see them any longer, or they can't really hold up. This is something that I'm adamant about is the education. Finding who you are, finding what you're capable of, and what you really like to do it's part of it. And as the years go by quickly, you will find out that it's like a speeding train. Once that thing starts to take off, there's no turning back. You've got to be able to keep yourself up education wise, and you need to enjoy what you're doing, retain what you're doing, and step outside the box. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Try to create your own, logic, experimentations to see what works for you. Lisa and I have been through that. She's doing more now, even from the very many years ago when we were dealing with all the sickness. She has improved so much by just the nutrition, what comes through the house. We're advanced our herb gardens now. There is so much going on. We produce our own herbal medicinals. We're constantly studying what's the best thing for us, one step at a time. The poultry has just gone crazy. It's really been something to see how I'm growing my poultry all naturally in a holistic greenhouse that a lot of people don't see nowadays. I got that from Sweden, from people that are so advanced in other countries. This is what engrossed me into really wanting a homestead that was going to be authentic and it was going to be effective. And I could not have told you years ago that I had a clue how to start any of this. It was just one process at a time, learning how to find what really worked for me and that I enjoyed it. And if you want to be a student, then you want to enjoy what you're doing. It'll encourage you to look more into it. That's the way it was years ago. Doctors were botanists. They were really good at what they did. They were constantly looking, always intrigued about things, and there's so much to learn out there. So I won't even cover everything before I leave this earth. But while I'm in the process where I'm at right now, I've got an excellent partner. Just happens to be my wife. We throw things off of each other. We try things. We're very careful. When it comes to things orally, when we're taking things, I will always try things before she does. Diatomaceous earth was one good example. Baking soda is pretty much common sense. Many people know about the different minerals, sulfurs, and different things that you can apply to your nutrition. And I wanted to make sure that I saw a difference, good difference with me before she tried them. And over the years, that's just how it works. You put the time into it. Don't just copycat or try to something somebody else has done. It may not necessarily work for you. It's like, our health, all our biological systems are somewhat different. And it takes a little longer for some people to see responses than others. We got to be knowledgeable about stuff like that. Trevecca is a good university I've done some time with up here. Wonderful teaching, excellent teaching here in Nashville. Education is everything. So, like I said, if you're wanting to do whatever program, if it's homesteading, if it's home farming, if it's just agriculture in general, horticulture, etymology, I love the bugs. Find a way to do one step at a time from ground up that works for you, an education program. Create some kind of a syllabus that you can complete step by step, and then go 1 year at a time and advance it as you go, and then apply them. That's the ticket for me, is make sure that you can holistically find a common ground where everything will link together and it'll become like a well-oiled machine. Don't just throw things together, and don't just do something that you like and it doesn't really show compatibility to something else. Because my soil regeneration in my greenhouse, the animals are in the greenhouse. There's many things that's going on within that greenhouse. It's a supplemental gardening than we do have with the earthbound gardens, which are BTEs, our layered gardenings, our leguminous layer gardenings. They're different, but yet they work together. So you have to really be able to put that time into the math and the research. Just don't watch it on TV. Like I said, a lot of people get in a habit of, there is good education. There is good folks out there that want to reach out and use, platforms like YouTube, Patreon, etc. And that's great. You've got to be selective with who that is, especially when you're in a natural setting. That is huge, because everything conventional out there goes against everything that's natural. That's one of the first bases I would encourage people to look into, is depending on where you want to go. If you want to just jot down to the big box stores and just throw together something that looked really great off of YouTube and stay in a conventional type of format, that's one thing. But if you're going to learn how to do things naturally, it's almost like being a veterinarian. You got to read the signs of those animals. You got to be able to up your game intellectually and find out what works for you, because you've got to watch nature as it is. There's a lot there to talk about when it comes to nature. So yes, I am all about being an environmentalist, and conservation's huge. The animals, we are huge about the finances. The second year in our 4 year program, I started up the financial program. And boy, God blessed us in that. That was incredible, because I was very diligent. I wanted to discipline us both. I said, look, we're going to do this. We're going to set up a program. We're going to have to really work hard to stick to it. So that program, the financial program, was to get out of debt, not just work on the finances, but there was an overall goal. And we, at the end of that year, got out of debt. And that point was like a holistic part of education, really helped the other parts later on coming in years, because it enabled us to do things that if we were in debt, it would have held us back. So we worked hard that second year, focused on our finances and all sorts of different methods. Everybody will have theirs if they work on something like that, because it's to each his own. But your overall focus is to find out what you need conservatively, what you don't need, live within your means, get rid of things that you don't need. If you're really wanting a homestead or looking to that type of life transition, there's things that you have to remove from your life in order to gain the good things that will help you see production. And so that was one of them right off the bat, and we got that done. And boy, I can tell you, all the years after that, thank God that we did that. We successfully went through the 4 years, obviously nutrition, finances. We went through a lot of construction, learning about gardening, horticulture in the third years, and really push. But I ordered books from people all over the world. I started with a lot of folks in America, a lot of engineers and people who constructed things for gardening. that actually grew. I got more into the natural organic type of gardening at that time because I was really seeing the difference. But I was also noticing too across the waters there was a lot going on. I mean, I was really picking up a lot of ideas from Africa, most of my gardening from England, a lot of my poultry from Africa, hydroponics from Australia. I can go on and on and on. There is so much going on. France, a tremendous amount of gardening going on over there. Many of these countries have been doing this far longer than we have, and they're exercising a lot of um, uh, uh, interesting ideas and new innovative ways to create things easier for you to do that. Whether you're going to go into market gardening, types of equipment for the types of load that you're wanting to carry, or just down to the simple, small half acre or quarter acre gardener that somebody has limited space to grow on, which is where I'm at. I'm all about um, recycling, using what you have, trying to convert. Don't throw things away if you know that you see something and you have a vision that you can turn this bucket or can or 55-gallon barrel into something. Absolutely. There's no need in going out and spending a lot of money, which we all know now with the inflation and economy change that we've seen. It makes it really difficult to go and buy the things that you need. So look for recycling. Try to be, think outside the box. I'm constantly, recycle, which is the same thing as turnover. My ground, I learned that a lot of that from the soils. Is everything is really right there. It's just how we manage it. You don't have to keep buying a bunch of stuff to put in it. Then you start learning how to manage things a lot better. So yeah, education, management, and just putting your best foot forward is the best way to see production. But you really got to have a heart in it. You got to love it, and it takes time to do that. So, and I'm probably talking too much now. So, I
No,
hope
not
that
at all.
with
No,
with
this
all
is
that, I
great
answered that question.
information. And I appreciate when you say that when you started, you knew nothing. And I think that's where when people come to you to learn from you, you just have this very humble approach because you recall when you knew nothing compared to the time and effort that you put into learning what you know now. And with you all starting with just gardens, did you have the current property you're on now, or did you like seek out different property?
No, I had some property in Kentucky. I started back doing gardening, kind of hit and miss back then. I was doing other things for a living while I was kind of trying to mix in my gardening. I tried to get back to that more, but it was more conventional back then. We are in South Nashville. We've actually got into more of the natural and organic gardening over this last decade here, and started to really see things. And then especially after I really started, after I got sick and we really pushed that nutrition, we got into the education to know exactly where to target certain things, certain seeds, heirloom seeds, and how to produce that food. So without going into too much, um, information there. It's just basically trying to find one step at a time your basis and what you're looking for and let it grow. And that's what we did. So the less we were buying, the more we were growing. We were looking more into natural plants. We did notice, I documented over the years, that was a good thing from when we first started, all the different plants, the gardens. So I could monitor what we were doing. You could see it. And so today, this year, I got a big year coming up. We are excited about some of the things that we're going to take from all those years, and we're going to bring these things all together. We are so pumped because we're constantly learning something new. We're antsy about trying something new and experimenting with this because we're pretty positive. We've got a faith-based attitude. We know that this was all brought to us by a higher source, but we are also letting ourselves know that we're excited, and it's all about experimentation. We know it's going to work. So we enjoy it. So we watch the seeds, we watch the plants, full rotation. That's been one of the biggest things is we don't plant in the same place all the time. We are constantly moving around. We're constantly putting in new gardens. My container gardens, second to none. We are always moving them around, which obviously enables you to do that for that complementary gardening. So you're always on the move and you're looking for that better product every year, that better garden, the better florals. Our florals is one of the biggest things also because we can go into that subject very carefully. It's our etymology. The bugs are really a big deal. We're seeing a lot of them. They're depleting. If you work hard to work on your property to get those florals in, the types of florals you need, your annuals, your perennials, you will acclimate those bugs back. They will commute back to you, but you've got to put the time into doing that by one knowing what it is that you're needing. You can move rosettes around for different things. I'm saying you can put your bulbs where you need to put them, but you need to also understand is what is that natural plant. Look at your native land, study your history, find out what's in your particular location that's always been there that's going to be the best grower for you. You can also learn how to add to that. But consider those bugs. Those bugs will come in, and that will help us out tremendously to get those pollinators back. So our florals is a lot about etymology. So that study went in. I just love that. I love the bugs. I started learning after one bug after the other, like a kid. It's just a wonderful habitat when you're bringing everything together and you're seeing things start to work. So that's our plan.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will hear more from our guest BJ and the research that he has put into learning about homesteading. We want to give thanks to our supporter, Girl Boss Copywriter. Girl Boss Copywriter provides website copy, email sequences, blogs. If you have a website and the words on that website were created by your cousin Danny back in 1992, it may be time to have someone come in and do a little refresher. Girl Boss Copywriter offers a free 30-minute consultation where she will audit your website and give you 3 very useful tips on what changes you can make to help you connect with your ideal clients. If you're interested in a 30-minute free consultation to have your website audited, go to girlbosscopywriter.com and contact them to find out more. Welcome back to Journey to the Rise. We return with BJ generously sharing a lot of details regarding what it takes to get into homesteading and how he is helping others become successful with their own homestead.
Try to do better every single year, and we'll do that from here on. Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. That really is exciting. So, what drew you to Africa? Like, you've referenced Africa. Like, what drew you there, and what have you learned from how they do things there?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's another good question. When we started off with poultry, like everything, you're not going to be perfect. It's hit and miss. Years ago, Lisa and I, we knew that we wanted to go ahead and look into the poultry. Of course, what breeds, how we were going to start that. I've got pictures from when we started way back. And some things when you start out, they're just not pretty. But when you look back now, our operation now is incredible. But that really is overwhelming, and it's really heartfelt. When you look back on the pictures when you first started, you see things that really resonate to what you're doing today. And we remember the times when we had our failures and we had our mistakes. So it was constantly researching, constantly looking for how can we do this better, how can we do that better. And I stumbled across, I think it was a documentary, how many of the folks in Africa and all over Africa. I mean, you're at Kenya. There's just so many different locations that when you look into other countries, you really got to look into them deep, find out exactly where and when they started certain programs and how they were doing things. Because, I mean, they've been doing them far longer than we have. And I was struck by a group of folks that were actually showing how to construct their poultry operation just out of rock and mud. It was almost geothermal in a way, and how they were naturally building their structures because of the climate that's over there. But they've always raised some of the best animals for the longest time with other animals, predators around them. And so I was noticing how, with some construction experience I had, that as simple as they were building things, they were raising these animals long term. Then I saw the rotation of how they were doing things. So I thought, well, if I use what I have here, very similar to how they were using it over there, I thought I'll give it a try. So I started putting in more foundations, block foundations to emulate the stones. And I don't use mortar. I can move my buildings around, which is odd to some people that I've got large buildings here now. And after a while, if I want to, I can add to them, pick them up, move them. But I got them on an inclined plane to where the animals are actually within the ground and they can move around. They stay cool in the summer and they stay warm in the winter because I've got a second to none vermiculture outfit going on inside there, and they get in there and they work it. I keep rotating that in there. So they've always got the nutrients and the bacteria and the enzymes and all the worms that's in it. Those microbials are incredible to how your poultry will respond to you. So we just had a very serious winter clip, very cold here in Nashville just a few weeks back, and it was kind of rare that we see cold come in like that, and it hit pretty hard. We had no problem at all. So we've seen an improvement with our operation over the years from when we first started. Now, I'm sure that, with our first operations, things today, as the climate does change, is a big factor of everything on natural homesteading. We probably would have seen different results. But because I stayed with it, I stayed diligent, and I kept looking, and I kept trying to figure out how I could better this and better that. I started going into more of the kennels on top of the foundations. It's very similar when you go into a zoo and you see how they construct everything for all the animals, and I'm able to build onto that. They're very strong, and then I started wrapping them with different materials, and then now we got the greenhouses inside. So you basically have a combination of a high tunnel, greenhouse, animal structures all together mixed in one, but you've got to know exactly, like they did in Africa, how they were able to do that based on the climate. And they sustained their chickens and their animals very well. It may look different here, same concept, but that's what I was after. And so I just kept improving on that idea from Africa. Always went back and looked for innovative things that they're doing over there. They're really up on their animals, their animal husbandry. I'm telling you, that's where you want to get some good information. Like I said, in England, if you want some great gardening, they've been doing it forever. Botany's huge. I mean, if you're wanting to know how to get right down to it, try to find a source. Most people wouldn't think that Australia, that hydroponics would be something that would be you would find in a country like that. Absolutely, they are top notch. There's some things going on. I grow some of the best fodder through a hydroponic system that I've ever grown in my life. Come from Australia because of their climate, because of their environment. A lot of times we don't realize there's a lot of advancement going on in these countries. Japan. It's incredible what these folks are coming up with. And so for me, we do have wonderful people here in America, but I've just pretty much seen things for me that reach outside the borders of America that's been going on for a long time that really got my attention. And that's how I am where I'm at today. I still consult with people in America. We have wonderful friends in America. America is stepping up their game. But many of the things that's going on was before America was even here. There's a lot going on that I think that we can all work together on to make our operations better, but we definitely need to recognize there's some people that have been doing what we've been doing for a long, long time.
Yeah, and it's better to go learn from those who have been doing it for a long, long time to see what we can take away. And clearly, you've done your research and learned from those people. And I will say, your chicken house is incredible. Your space for your chickens is really impressive. When I had the opportunity to visit your farm, it was a pretty hot day, and when we walked in there, like there was a temperature shift, and it when I walk into a typical like habitat for chickens, there's like an odor, a very distinct odor, and that doesn't exist in your space. It's very clean for your hens. You have very, very happy chickens.
Yeah. And it's since you've been here, it is 4 times bigger now. We have advanced that
Wow.
unit, and we've added more things to it. So hopefully soon we'll be able to have you back and let you see what's
Yeah.
going on now. Like I said, every year just expect if you come back, something's going to change. We're always adding on to something here. We're always looking for another nugget. It's improved immensely. Speaking of people in America, a lot of people are looking for literature, education. A good source is Joe Saliston. He has been around for a long time. A lot of people are aware of Joe Saliston. There's many folks that are out there that have gotten those years. He is one that, like us, he does many things. He doesn't just do one thing, just raise animals. He's very good on his poultry. He's very good on many things. Also his education and his presentation. He knows how to let people know what is the real deal, and he's got the backing to do that. So we do have people here in our own ground territory of the United States that are good educators. If somebody are looking for sources, I believe he's got some YouTube material. Just look for the books, look for what he's individually put out as an author, and put that in your library. Look for those specific authors, those specific people that you know for a fact. If you're wanting to raise poultry, if you're wanting to do gardening, if you're wanting to combine, if you're wanting to do hydroponics, that's a whole different entity of work, it takes a little practice to get used to knowing how to put that together. If you're wanting to sustain the 365 growing process, that is really smart. We got a lot of people in Canada I get a lot of information on in the hydroponics department as well. But check out those locations, Australia, and those leads. There's some very smart people all around the globe, excuse me, that can really provide you for those nuggets that you're trying to obtain, so you can at least feel that you're being reachable on the things that you want to grow and that you're seeing that production. It's got to be reachable. Don't make it impossible for you to do something. There's a lot of folks that don't have a lot of space and land to do certain things, but they want to do this thing that they see everybody doing. There's ways of going about it. I am really big on tight spaces and trying to share with people how you can do things. We do hydroponic towers. I build all sorts of things you can put on your terrace. That's part of what homesteading is about. You're constantly thinking and coming up and using different experiments to do all sorts of things to be effective and productive, especially for people in our world today. We're seeing a lot of chains that just don't have the capabilities. So whether they just want to be an enthusiast and want to pick up a book and read it and they just enjoy that, that's fine. If they want to see a video, there's, like I said, a lot of people on YouTube, and there's a lot of platforms that provide that. Be very selective. That's all I can tell you, with who you look for that are actually doing what they're doing, and how they've come to doing what they're doing. Many people have great testimonies, as yourself. That's where I look for it, because I want to feel like, you know what, I'm in it to win it. This is something that I'm going to do the rest of my life. And I want to make sure that we don't waste seeds. We're here to grow seeds, because you can see it as Monsanto, as a big deal going on right now with seeds. Grow your own seeds. You can produce those. You can make the best heirloom seeds year after year after year. They get better. You see your crops get better. When you get into seed saving, that's a completely different operation. Learning how to do that, how to stratify, how to propagate, how to learn how to manage getting those seeds in so you can have the best gardens possible out there. Other than that, you'll be going every year like a conventional gardener, and they got to go buy this and buy that. And, you can look at things on a more conservative note, but you do have to put in the time. Like I said, a veterinarian, he does a little bit more different study and practice in order to work with the animals, opposed to somebody who just prescribes you a medication. So look for those people that have value and that are legit.
And I'm noticing there's a shift happening. Like, people are realizing I can grow a garden in my own kitchen. I can grow, like, they're finding ways, like you're saying. And if there's someone with an interest of homesteading and making that shift, do you teach workshops or work with people? Like, are they able to come to you and, like, sign up for a workshop to learn?
We've not started a sign-up program. I've given many different workshops because we do so many different things. I'm a hands-on guy, so I love being on my homestead. I'm getting at an age where we've talked about that quite a bit. How do we get information out? There's a lot of people have been requesting and asking. I get a lot of emails in that respect. But then again, you've got to start reaching outside the box. That's become a topic of, how often do we want to get out? That can be a process. That's almost like if you're a market gardener. If you want to go into market gardening, you better think about the business. Obviously, you're going to grow. That's what you're going to market. And if you like to grow and you like to spend time with your plants, you need to understand that you might need to get somebody in business to help you market that. Because if you're going to try to wear all these hats, this can be a challenge, and it can affect your your project, your operation. Make it reachable. Make things to where you can handle them. If you're going to go out and you're going to share some discernment and get out there and let people know what you do, plan it, schedule it according to what makes it easy for you and still acceptable for the operation that you originally started with. Don't start taking yourself away. A lot of people want to get into market gardening and they want to get into the money, but then what happens is it starts to drift and turn into this. You got to really, really be careful of that. You got to remember your grounds, where you started at, and what is your plan. My wife and I, she has a lot to say about what goes on around here. That's what I love about it. And so we bring our ideas together. So therefore, as we're moving with our experiments and we're looking into advancing things, we are very delicate and very conservative of how we do this, so it doesn't take us away from the actual plan that we started to begin with. So again, we're faith-based. We pray about it, and if we feel that it's something that's put on our hearts, then we look at where we go. We have the discretion to do whatever we want to do when we want to do it. That's the idea of getting out of debt from the very beginning. You open up a playing field for you to be able to enjoy your homestead more because you're allowing yourself to make things reachable. So if you need to go off and plan a trip personally, or if you're going to plan a trip for a workshop, you've got to manage it and plan it according to how it doesn't affect everything, and you've got to keep that operation going. So holistically, that's why things need to link together. So it makes it so much easier. If you don't have things holistically tied together, then you're running around trying to take care of everything. But if they're all working together as a fine-tuned machine, it enables you to obviously have that time to maybe reach out, take a plane trip, do a workshop, set things up if you want to be gone for a few days a week, depending on what your operation demands. Or if you have other people working with you on your operation, that allows you to do that. So everybody's homesteads are different. I've always been an advocate for that. There's never going to be one ever the same. There's similarities to many of them. So your time is of essence. If you want to be able to go out and express more education and incorporate that in your homestead, that's fine. If that's going to be some form of an income coming in, many people do that. That's fine. Lisa and I are more about the homestead. So we do everything, but we do it very carefully. We manage it within a timing that it does not affect one another. There's no demands. So if that makes it easier to understand, yes, we do, but we do it with discretion. We do it very carefully.
Yeah. And you have a Patreon where people can sign up. You want to share that a little bit in case there's someone out there listening who wants to learn from you?
Right. We started Patreon not really a year ago, and that's something new for us. Again, we're trying to bring in certain things that makes it easier for us to still be here to provide on Patreon if they want to support us and look into what we're still growing and adding to Patreon. I put on as much content as I can every month on there, so there's constantly something going on there that is exclusive just for the patrons, and we are going to be adding to that. We would like to be able to start incorporating mini videos and certain things. I don't want to spend a ton of time editing until we know that we can move our way into that. We have so much going on, but with Patreon, we felt that was a good match considering other bases. And so that's what we're going to look into. Hopefully this year, if things work out well, we're going to be adding more and more content. And we have considered even selling more merchandise. We have sold merchandise and things that we've done because I'm also a carpenter. And we wanted to incorporate that as well. But Lisa is also an artist. We were into the bus industry for many, many years, so we've done a lot of custom work. So we've got a little extra, something that we want to put out there. And we thought that's something that is about us as well as a homesteader's workshop that a lot of homesteads did back in the day. They created and did a lot of things. Lisa and I are very gifted in that area. So we thought when the time comes, we'll actually put that out there at Patreon and market those and be able to share some of the things we authentically create and build here and how that pertains to some project or the whole operation altogether. So we want to look at it as, this is what you're going to get from the Homesteaders Workshop. There's so many different homesteads that are out there that are trying that. I think it's a great idea if you're wanting to share. And for people who like what you have or they can learn from what you have, Patreon's a good base. We've pulled away from Facebook. We've had Facebook for many years. I've even went back to an old site that I had and started sharing off of that. But with the algorithms and a lot of changes that we're all seeing today, I went to a personal one. The two was Patreon and MeWe. MeWe has been an incredible base, mainly because it is very private. They've got the Bill of Rights to that. I think that's something everybody needs to look into because we are literally sharing with people on MeWe on discussing content and all sorts of things that we don't have to worry about on Facebook that's being monetized. Google the same. We have to use these things to some degree, but we need to use them with discretion. But MeWe is extremely private. Never had a problem with that. We're able to share one-on-one. Even videos, little video clips. If they want to catch me in the garden, I'm able to still work and still use the phone to be able to do different things. That has been really, really handy to have, and we know that's always protected. Now, on Patreon, we're looking if you're wanting to be a patron, like a lot of the creators there, that's a good place to start. If you've got something that you're wanting to put out there that you think while you're doing what you're doing, so you don't have to travel as much. But it is a good source to adding to your operation in many different ways. Patreon has been very creative, and see, that's another thing. They're always looking for something to get a step up, and I like that. That's an organization that makes it so good for artists, for whatever you're doing to put out there, whether you want to sell something, share something. And they protect it pretty well for the most part. I mean, it's really a good platform to use. So we're going to be trying to put more on that. We just started it, and we're looking forward to seeing where that goes in the future. And hopefully that will be able to provide what we do. If people are interested in what we do, they're more than welcome to jump on there and, enjoy.
Yeah,
And also
absolutely.
communicate with it.
Yes, and I'll make sure those links are included in the show notes and when we get these posted, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who want to know more. I know you are short on time, and I really appreciate you being here. You've got a lot to do because you've always got something going on. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here and taking time for me and for sharing your information. And I'm just grateful for everything that you have learned and your willingness to share.
Lucretia, you're so professional, and you're the best. We appreciate you allowing us to be here with you, sharing time, and we look forward to you coming down and spending time with us as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon, darling.
All right, sounds good.
That's all for this week. Next week, we talk to Dr. Thomas Iliff, a world-renowned cave diver, former marine biology professor at Texas A&M, and an internationally known marine researcher.
I went to see ancient towns and castles and all sorts of things. So I went there 3 times, and while I was there, they didn't have any diving, and so I taught not only the first scuba diving course ever in Romania, but also the first cave diving course.
Wow.
And we went to a cave that was out in the Transylvanian Alps in wintertime. There's snow on the ground, and we went diving in these caves and teaching scuba diving in these caves in Transylvania.
Thanks so much for listening. I want to give a shout out to our listeners in Belgium. We appreciate you joining us. Please do follow us on your podcast app so that you have the latest episode downloaded. If you want to follow us on Instagram, our account is Journey to the Rise Podcast. This episode was produced, researched, and edited by Girl Boss Productions. I'm Lucretia, and you have been listening to Journey to the Rise.